So these are 59 of the best slides you're ever going to see. Okay. See? So the first question that I have for you all, how many of you understand 5G?
Define understand.
Yeah. No, I mean deep technical understanding of 5G.
It comes after 4G.
Yeah.
Actually, it comes after LTE Advanced.
LTE, yeah.
No, not LTE, LTE Advanced. Okay, so I have a bit of a, so this is, you know, so I'm old.
Maybe a good thing would be, is this confusing to me? 4G Advanced LTE, because and then we could go, we're not going to 5GE, which is bullshit.
It's bullshit.
And all those things, but 4G Advanced and LTE, what is the difference?
So the reason I'm asking the question is I have a bunch of slides because, you know, if you're going to go in and talk about why an airport needs 5G, you probably should understand what the heck 5G is. So I actually included slides of what 5G actually is. And I put it technically in a way that lay people can understand it.
I think for me, it was more what you got there before, which is the private work and how the ecosystems kind of opened up.
And we'll get to that as well.
To me, that's
Let me just answer your question. You were asking what's the difference between 4G and LTE?
Yeah.
Up until AT&T was bullshitting everyone, nothing.
Okay, kind of like 5GE.
That's exactly the same
I
thing.
had 5GE since 2G.
That's
My
that.
phone. In Europe, it's still 4G. It's not LTE.
Okay. My phone says 5GE. It's like, you know, I still get 2 megabits.
Yeah.
Never.
So I'm going to give you the for real answer so you'll understand, because that was really a gross oversimplification, you know. So a little bit about my background. I'm old. I have been in communications, mobile, IoT, and telecom and IT for 40 years. I've worked for some of the biggest companies in the world, Verizon, GTE, Sprint. I was the vice president of Global Crossing. I had to testify to Congress when we went bankrupt. It sucked. Capgemini, partner at Accenture. At Accenture, I ran the go-to-market practice for the Americas for mobile and IoT. I had a lovely trip to Bogota, which I now know what a BMW 760i is. Do you know what a BMW 760i is? Which Odin. Okay, I will pick on you today.
760?
760.
Is that the one where they have 2 V6s in for 12 or something?
It has a V12 because it's bulletproof. It's armor plated. So when I went down to Colombia, I had one of those.
Put together and
Yeah. So I've done a lot of consulting jobs for most of the telecoms in the world. Okay. My speaker on 5G, on IoT, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Have been on boards, have been on panels. I'm currently on the business working group and fixed wireless group of the CBRS Alliance. So I'm actually on the standards committee. Okay. So we can talk about that. I did write a collaboration book with Stephen Covey called Managing the Mobile Workforce in 2009. I used to, probably my biggest highlight is I was the GM of the United States for Samsung. If you ever heard of Samsung. How many of you all have a Samsung phone? When you boot your Samsung phone, it says secured by Knox. I invented Knox. Those are my credentials. And I used to be on the the head of the IoT committee at Tech Titans and de facto board. So what's 5G? Okay. Real simply, stands for 5th generation. It's fast as hell. Okay. It will go up to 20 gigabits when its final iteration. We'll get there. Okay. Big backbone, latency, delay, performance 4 times better than 4G LTE. Huge capacity increases for data. So what's the biggest benefit of 5G? Does anybody really know what that is? Because LTE goes fast, right?
The low latency, you can do remote surgery.
No.
Like that.
It's not the benefit.
Cheaper hardware.
No, not the benefit.
I think latency is a big deal.
Big deal. These are all big deal. The biggest deal is the architectural capacity of 5G changes From Ford,
millimeter wave stuff.
no,
Some virtualization.
no,
Being able to push that.
no. The reason is architecturally, LTE was architected for 2,200 concurrent connections in a square kilometer. And 5G is architected for 1 million, which means in a dense area, your phone's not going to drop its battery continually going in and out of searching for network. You ever go to
AT&T Stadium?
Did you go to AT&T Stadium? So,
Yeah.
Do you know what 15% of the people are doing at AT&T Stadium? They're searching porn. This is from AT&T. They're searching porn. Okay, not during the game.
So A&M's new stadium was designed to be for everybody in the stadium to have 4 devices connected to via either Wi-Fi or cellular. That means almost 500,000 devices.
Yep, because they use real 5G. They use Verizon too.
We're working on AT&T Stadium right now, and other
Oh, is that
and other
right?
NFL
AT&T Stadium
stadiums as well.
Serviced by Verizon.
Yeah, Verizon's way ahead of
Yeah.
Verizon's way ahead of AT&T. So, Michael, here's your answer. This is what phones looked like for the last 35 years. This is 1G to 4G. Okay?
And 1G is normally what's called NMT, and second generation is called TSN.
No.
Where did TDMA? TDMA is
No. That has nothing to do with the G, because there was TDMA and CDMA and
Yeah, yeah,
GSM and all right. So
depends on where you're at in the world.
I'm
Yeah, the amps first.
So who do you work for?
Well, I guess you can guess that already, can't you?
No.
Ericsson.
Ericsson. Ah.
Everyone else knows.
Yeah, but you're not getting it right. I just edited your connected aviation paper, man.
So TDMA and CDMA and all that came after amps. Amps was what?
Yeah.
1G. With TDMA, CDMA, you called 2. Would you say it's 2G? Or was that 1.5?
It depends. It depends on which iteration. Yeah. So anyway, so the net is so the net is right. This is how we've come to.
Well, you have a lot of Ericsson phones there.
I do have a lot of Ericsson
There's,
phones.
there's Nokia there. I spent 7 years at
And
Nokia.
Motorola.
And its most important phone, the iPhone.
I got some Nokia phone. No, I went nice,
You
right?
got a BlackBerry?
And this one is a Samsung. I refuse to put an Apple there. So
You can't always have a correct everything.
Motorola's. A little bit of everybody.
so I got I'm in good shape here. So we're good. I represent.
Yeah.
No hatred, right?
Just curiosity, any of those private, were you able to do private 2G or no?
Were you able to? Yes, absolutely. There have been private wireless networks in the United States and worldwide for 30 or 40 years. Okay, so the original the trunk to radio systems, okay, that were the genesis of the entire cellular industry that came out of the Carter phone, ruling. That was
Did you have a 3G? Could I go buy a 3G network and set up around my campus or?
So I'll give you an example. OG&E, Oklahoma Gas and Electric, had their own proprietary WiMAX network.
Well, that's different. WiMAX doesn't count.
Well, I mean, you can do voice on WiMAX.
No, but I mean,
It's private. It's a private wireless
I'm
network.
not talking about having a network that works on another thing. Can you have a? I'm thinking 5G with the CBRE is completely different than anything in the past in terms of everybody agrees this is a good idea. We're going to have CBRE, and you can do it for your airport, your campus, or whatever. Versus in the past, that was I would call it a hack, I guess, if you could make a 3G network somewhere.
So there've been a lot of there have been a lot of initiatives for private LTE over the last 5 years, right? So there's the Pulte initiative. there's there's another European initiative, and CBRS is CBRE is a real estate company. CBRS, right, which stands for Citizens Broadband Radio System. They repurposed the Citizens, the Citizens Band radio, the 10.4 Good Buddy radio spectrum for this, and all it is, it's just a typical 5G. Well, it's typical core. Okay, I'm going to refuse saying 5G right now. It's a typical core using using either a physical core or a virtual core connected to a RAN layer, right? A radio access network, right? And the RAN can be either a premise-based RAN or a vRAN, okay, a virtual RAN. So Ericsson sells both. They're much more firmly entrenched on the proprietary side as opposed to the virtual side. You are behind on the virtual side. People like Parallel Wireless and Mavenir, and Atia Star. I guess Atia Star got bought by Rakuten. Are much farther ahead on the O-RAN side. So, and then people like JMA, and we can go on and on and on. I'm not here to praise or, but it's true.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
But we're getting better.
Well, you're going to have to.
Yes. Either that or we're gone.
Yeah, or you're gone, or you're Nokia.
Ouch.
So, okay, and you have to fix your pension plan too. But anyway,
I guess I'll have to find another job
at some point. So, okay, if I go to the next slide, and why am I not advanced? Okay, here it is. Okay. So 5G for an airport's landscape, right? Digital infrastructure drives to digital assets, ubiquitous connectivity at high speed, actionable mission critical data, and security is paramount. So some of the things that 5G does really well, it does security really well. Okay, it does, actionable data really well. Airports get really crowded, right? So the ability to have the density impact with the radio schema is very important for an airport, right? I have a slide in there that ranks industries, okay? And the number 2 industry from a density need for private LTE is an airport. There's only one that has a higher need. Stadiums.
Just think about it. Every time an airplane lands, which they do every few minutes at an airport, everyone turns on their phone and they need to do location update, right?
Uses the urinal.
No. Or if you're sitting in A32 and there are 2 planes backed up and there are 1,000 people in the terminal, that's the problem.
That's another problem.
Or you have 200 people in queue at TSA and you don't have service. And people have mobile boarding passes. That's a problem.
Is there another way to do a boarding pass?
There's lots of you. There's paper.
Really? You can do it in your wallet.
Screenshot it too.
Okay. So if you look at what 5G enables in an airport, right? The future's bright. Intelligent logistics and operations, intelligent customer engagement, intelligent communications, intelligent security, and intelligent revenue growth, right? This is how you enable. So 5G, the big benefits, right? So it is, defined by GSMA, which is, in conjunction with IEEE, right? It is faster than 2 gigasecond, better latency performance, higher capacity, and higher operational speeds, right? I'm not going to get into hybrid radio, new radio, mixed radio. I'm not going to do any of that because that's getting too deep. You have a question?
So what models of the phones work with 5G? Compatible with all the, it won't be compatible with all the previous models.
Oh, no. You have to buy a phone that's 5G enabled. You as a consumer need to be intelligent about the model that you buy. You also should be aware of the type of 5G connectivity that you're going to have. I'll get to that in a moment. Okay. So visions and realities, right? So 5G technically starts at release 15 of 3GPP. Am I correct, Oli?
Yes.
Okay. So 3GPP is the third generation partnership project. It is the global standard for cellular interconnectivity. Okay. I gave you, you're going to have this. We're going to go blow through these. I gave you the release sheet for release 15. Okay. Release 15 is now not the current release anymore. Okay. Release 16 is dropped. Okay. But I've also given you the milestones and the future for release 17 as well. 5G is software, folks. The question is that the hardware on the pole or the tower able to run it? That's the issue. You know, people think it's freaking, you know, it's magic. It's software. 5G is software.
The software is magic.
It's actually not magic. It's IFM. You know what IFM is? Incredible freaking magic. Okay, so I remember I said I had 59 slides. I really do, but a lot of these I'm doing this too, because I'm giving you the release slides, right? Okay, couldn't do a 5G presentation without talking about 6G. 6G is in the works. I said in here early 2030. There are estimates of late 2028. There are a lot. The University of Oulu, you've probably been there, is one of the leaders in the 6G standards designation. One of the things that they're talking about is one of the big things that happened with when we went to release 15 is that there was a substantive change in the frequencies that the radios could have. Okay, because LTE and 4G stopped at 6 gigahertz. So you couldn't actually receive and transmit signal above 6 gigahertz. Nobody thought that you could ever do that because the propagation above 6 gigahertz is terrible. And they had to invent new antenna arrays to do this. So we're not going to talk about beamforming, okay? Because that's over the audience's head. There are new technologies to do that. But you ever see the T-Mobile and Verizon commercial where T-Mobile goes, "We have the best network. It goes the farthest. It goes 20 miles."
They're using 600 megahertz.
Right. Then Verizon has a T-Mobile phone next to them, and they do an Ookla speed test, next to both phones. And the woman says, "Oh, poor T-Mobile, their 5G is so slow," because they're using millimeter wave. But if you ever notice that they're doing the test outside, is because millimeter wave at 24 gigahertz won't propagate more than 1,100 meters and cannot penetrate glass, which means it's not going to go through your building. You're not going to get it unless you have an external antenna on the inside, which is why most of the deployments of the millimeter wave right now from Verizon are for fixed wireless access and home internet.
But that's not really fair either, because most of T-Mobile's network is ultra capacity, which is 3 gigahertz.
I didn't say it was fair, dude. I'm just telling you what the commercial
What
is.
it is, what the commercial
Which
says.
phone catches on?
They all catch on fire at some point. It's a problem with lithium. So when I was at GM for 4 years at Samsung for the United States, people used to say to me, "Why are your phones so expensive?" And I said, "Well, it costs a lot of money to make something big, and it costs a lot of money to make something small." Am I right?
Yes.
He makes stuff. Okay.
Make it small. Big's easy. It's like a speech. I would have taken less time, but I would have made it shorter, but I didn't have enough time.
Yeah. It's like this presentation. If I had more time, I would have used less slides. So anyway, just want to let you know, I gave you a link in here to Hulu's flagship, so you guys can start doing your research on 6G, and then stop thinking about it. I will tell you, they are talking about terahertz spectrum, not gigahertz spectrum, terahertz.
You need some serious technology to realize that.
Okay.
Before he died.
Okay. So this is an Intel slide just about the projected economic value of 5G. And I actually believe this. By 2050, $7 trillion. By the way, please note, LTE doesn't go away. You use it in conjunction. You're going to, most of your voice conversations, chat conversations, text conversations, well supported by LTE. And you know, who cares, right?
Oh, you're saying, are you going to say that when 5G was really rolled out and complete and everywhere,
They're not taking down LTE for a long, long time.
Mike, I'm still going to have I'm talking and I finish the sentence, the other guy wait 20 seconds to answer because of the latency?
No,
There's latency problems on cell phones.
there are.
As they build out the 5G network, they're gonna basically eat in on the spectrum for the.
They'll eventually get there, but they have to work on all.
4 and 4 on 4G LTE over the.
But there are a lot of problems with voice over 5G. You know that.
Between the room, so going outside the building, signal propagation won't be.
Yeah, but they will still run, you know, on 3 gigahertz and those kind of frequencies. And
Well,
they-
that's a frequency issue. We'll get to the frequencies in a minute.
If voice goes to below 6 gigahertz, it's data and you go like that.
Well,
Honestly, with 5G, you can run it on any frequency you want, and the operators are doing this now.
Yeah.
Everybody can have it.
so we're going to talk about frequency copiously. Okay. So why do you really want 5G? You want it for immersive media. You want it for 4K video conferencing. You want it for automated delivery service. You want it for automated logistics. These are some of the real key drivers on why, 5G. There are more. There's telemedicine applications. I can go on and on and on and on. Okay. So for an airport, what are the digital innovation priorities? Advanced communication infrastructure, data warehouse and edge compute, digital twins, artificial intelligence, predictive planning, blockchain, autonomous vehicles, robotics, gate automation, biometrics, smart parking, virtual and augmented reality applications. And there's more, and there's more, and there's more, and there's more, and there's more.
Invasion of people's privacy.
I have a list of 500. We could go through each one. Would we all like to do that?
No.
Okay. Actually, I think Michael's actually seen that list. I think you all have seen that list. Oh, I was about to say I have.
It took 30 minutes to get a drink.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
That's why I apologize.
No worries. So let's talk about the use cases, right? DFW Airport's looking at autonomous buses. They have an autonomous bus trial that they've done. Because, you get these buses. I don't know. Anybody ever fly out of DFW Airport?
Is there a choice?
Where?
So here's the deal. You're always cursing that the bus didn't come to take, because I park all the time in the north parking and not the remote north
You've heard
parking.
about Uber, right?
I'm sorry.
You've heard about Uber and Lyft, right?
I live in Frisco.
I live in Frisco as well.
It's cheaper to
$65
just each way.
No, yeah, each way. So 65 there and 65 home.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do both. I do the economics, I decide whether I do Uber
Depends on how long you spend.
or whether I do North Express. But I've been at North Express since before Uber was a dream by somebody. I've been going to that job.
Yeah, the Express North is phenomenal. And by the way, Oli, it's dependent on whether it's your own consulting company's budget that you own or Ericsson's. Because when I was at Samsung, I limoed all the time, dude. And what? And when I
He spends too much money.
Yeah, I know. I've already figured that out. So anyway, robotics. So one of the trials coming in the airport, they're going to do food delivery in the airport with the robots. So you're at your gate using the DFW app. How many people have downloaded the DFW app on their phone?
I suggest this for this hotel.
What do you mean by LOL?
This is what I've had so many conversations all around the world with airport operators. And if they are so egotistically driven to think there is any need for that airport app on your phone. They're just beyond crazy. No need for that app.
I have it because I download everything.
Well,
It doesn't make it right.
I wrote a story in 2012 about app fatigue, and that was in 2012 we had app.
Okay, so
So what's the use case for? I know you can get TSA information on line queue.
when you'll be able to order your food at your gate,
Well, you shouldn't need an app for that either, right?
should be able. I mean, telepathy is a long way out, man.
Well, the 6G has it on.
The little,
It's a long way out.
the little ugly NTT Diploma Square. What are those called? Those little ugly squares everywhere? They're going away now, though. The ugly squares, they had 2 good years.
You mean the ones that have the QR codes?
Sure.
No, just a joke.
Yeah.
You don't like your accounts either?
So-
The rest of the But you should just be able to scan a QR code, get a web clip, right? A little micro app without downloading an app, and then put in the order for your food.
Okay, so what do you do for a living?
I just have a restaurant QR code technology, and I'm an inventor.
Oh, okay. All right. So, you realize that most people who fly in the airport can't do half of what you just said.
They can scan a QR code now.
They could.
Even the thing that annoys me with all these stupid apps is that most of them is just a web wrapper for the web page. So why not give me the web page to begin with? Then I don't need all those stupid apps on my.
Okay, so the DFW app is terrible,
I don't want that.
but I mean, they are going to try to drive engagement through their application. What I think would be a really good thing to do is if all the airports were to band together to a ubiquitous national airport app that you would sense from using LBS where you are and then give you your options there.
I was trying to work with Frogports, who runs most of the German airports in Germany. So trying to get them to do this, and every operator has their own egotistical reasons to download that communal app.
Right.
And for
And
nothing
don't
else, they
forget
want to spy on you
that,
and sell you.
airlines have their own app too.
Oh, yes.
That's the next
So
reason for
food.
wanting it app. Or push.
Those Stitch-on robots, they're pretty clever.
Yes.
So
They're very nice. So we can go on and on and on.
Carry my luggage.
No, there's one at the airport that I'm on in, or not the airport, hotel in San Jose. We both use, right?
I think you use.
I use it. I admit it. I ordered water from the front desk because I just wanted to see it work. I'm not sure how important it is to the success of the airport, but from a business perspective, I thought it was cool that I could order something and it comes to my room.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
But why not use the airline? You know, the airline you're flying with, they have the app, their own app to order whatever
So
you want.
American has done that with Grub.
Yeah.
They did a partnership locally.
And so you
Yeah.
can get stuff to the gate, to the seat.
So we're not going to solve their problems today. Okay. Because the issue with an airport, I'm going to pull this up just to show you guys. Here's the issue, guys. Now, this is the issue. Have you ever seen a map of DFW airport?
Oh, yeah.
This is DFW airport.
Where's the fracking?
The fracking, it's done over here somewhere. Anyway, this landmass sits in Denton County, Tarrant County, and Dallas County. It sits in Euless, Grapevine, Fort Worth, Irving, and Dallas. Okay, like we can look, right? I mean, I can make this super big because this is high res, right? So they have 207 buildings on campus, okay? And we'll talk about this in a little, right? When you do something at DFW Airport, you have to deal with 5 municipalities. No, sorry, you have to deal with 8 municipalities because you have the county governments and you have the local governments. Okay? And this, you know,
How do they get anything done?
so
They don't. That was a good question. I mean, I've never seen him be at a loss for words.
Oh, no. I have an answer to that. I'm
He's got
gonna,
a slide for that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I mean, this is overall, I like DFW.
so I have an answer for that. I'm going to get to that. Okay. All right. Smart gate automation. Okay. Including like biometrics. This is a big issue. Okay. Securely moving assets. So you're talking about getting people to integrate, right? Well, how many gates do they have there? Okay. Okay. They have 3 entire boatloads of gates. All right. They do not integrate the airport manifest systems, okay, with the gate systems and the return systems and the supply chain delivery systems. Now, what is the number 2 import to DFW airport? Anybody have an idea?
Flowers.
Oh yeah, I told you.
That's my
It's not cheating if you know the answer in advance.
It is not cheating because he studied. Okay. Flowers. The number one. Have you ever known me to lie to you?
Yes, I mean, no.
Flowers.
Amazing.
Okay. Flowers come in every day from Mexico. So Aeromexico flies them in. Like, so when you're coming in, everybody, Aeromexico. They have 42 minutes to get them off the plane into cold storage. 42 minutes. That includes clearing customs. Okay. Now it's a world port, so which means customs does reside at DFW. And they do that. Well, different airlines have different priorities on the tractors. Well, they don't integrate the tractor asset systems because they don't have a tractor asset system to the card access system because they don't have a card access system to the manifest system to the system that actually charge which gates they're going to because that changes at the last minute. Which means when the plane lands, they don't necessarily have the cards. What percentage of the flowers die? 30. It's 30.
Yes.
It's 30. It's 30%.
Wow.
Okay. They lose
A lot of
30%.
shrinkage.
Okay. Who pays for that? Consumers
Yeah.
and Aeromexico. And they're not happy. Because the problem is that, sometimes in the summer, we'll go weeks and weeks and weeks at a time where it doesn't rain and it's over 100 degrees outside normally. And oh, by the way, on the tarmac, it's probably 135. Okay. And your orchids are not happy at 135. They are just not. Now, think about that if you have a medicine that needs to be stored at 71 degrees below zero. And an airport doesn't have an integrated system. By the way, none of these places have integrated. There are 556 airports in the United States. 3 have private wireless. Okay. Supply chain is probably the biggest
So
issue.
DFW is going to be 4th then, or?
Stop. We're going to talk about that. So Ericsson screwed the pooch on that, by the way, just so you know.
They do that on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
Okay.
Put it in mesh Wi-Fi and just do all this so much better.
No, I'll tell you why. That's a great question. I have a slide on that.
Do it.
Did I say that I was, I'm pretty knowledgeable on this. What? 59 slides, dude. There's no, I'm not much into bluffing. No.
UTI slide. No.
No.
That would be TMI.
That's the, I made sure I went to the bathroom before I came to do this, right? So, all right. Smart parking. They are looking at smart parking. They are looking at putting in a system where one of the big problems at the airport So you park in the garage, you suck it up, okay, and you park to Terminal A, and when you return, you go to Terminal C.
Uh-oh.
Does that ever happen to anyone here?
Doesn't care.
That's why if you have Uber, you don't care. If you work for Ericsson, you have more money than God. So yes, of course you use Uber, but most of the companies don't do that.
Don't tell people the secret. North Express is the best.
North Express, that's what I use all the time.
Is the parking spot a thing still or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
That's what
It's North Express or South Express.
And if you use the DFW app, you get a discount if you book it in advance on North Express, Mike. Yes, you do.
Or just do whatever you set up for their email list.
I do 90% of my stuff on the phone too.
The parties do a pretty good job.
Email.
Okay, so they're looking at parking systems to identify where you are and reroute, and actually to have robots bring your car to you when you land at the gate. So they're going to look at a concierge service that when you come out, they're going to track your bags, they're going to do this, and then when you leave the door, the car's there.
But that's better with short range technologies like Ericsson Bluetooth.
Yeah, but that sounds like,
With,
Yeah.
is it gonna pack the bag in the car and then give you the car with everything in it?
No, you'll have to still get the car, but here's the deal, right? And there are a lot of issues with Bluetooth, by the way. There's some consistency issues, there's some range issues, there's some capacity issues, there's some throughput issues as well.
But for tokenization of identity and it's like a short, like a 1 foot.
5G is superior by far. Oh yes,
I can get 1 foot resolution with 5G.
yes.
Am I gonna get a 5G radio for less than $1?
No.
Bluetooth.
Well, it depends on what you're building. It depends on what you're building, Mike. It depends on what you're building.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, it's a cost benefit ratio.
But 5G does a lot of stuff, but sometimes you just want Bluetooth.
I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying, guys. So, passengers, customers, and rev share, right? So these are all opportunities. Indoor wayfinding. Yes, you can do it with Bluetooth. Yes, you can do it. This is great. I feel like I'm back in Philadelphia. There's like hecklers.
You asked for interactive.
Oh, I'll give it back, man.
So what makes 5G indoor? This is a good question. I'm not joking. What makes 5G indoor tracking better than any of the other indoor tracking things today? Because that is a problem in the world.
Yeah. So the triangulation is really good on it.
I mean,
It's better on 5G than it's ever been on LTE.
Can I get millimeter or centimeter or?
Well, the problem is if you really want to get to like centimeter, you really need to start looking at like GNSS.
No, but that won't work inside.
Of course, it won't work inside because you need a monument and you need the access to the satellite. Yes.
If we're outside.
Are you familiar with GNSS?
Yes.
Okay.
If we're outside a building, the GNSS will give me the exact location anywhere on the planet without question. The question,
Right. So
it's really not inside. It's really inside the building.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how many protocols you can use concurrently,
you need diversity.
and you need diversities on device. Yes, if you are going to go with a super robust LBS system, I would recommend you use cellular radios, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth. If you can garner all three of the radios for the triangulation.
Then I would use ultra wideband if I didn't have anything in between. But this room, I can tell within sub-millimeter where you are in this room.
Yes.
There's no interference. This is great. But
Yeah.
if I make the room 10 times this big, I can't do shit without a lot of
I'd
internet.
argue that because ultra wideband doesn't have diversity. Plus Apple's.
Yeah, but here's the deal, right? He's talking about a room with there's no contention.
Yeah.
That was his premise.
This is my building. I own it. It's my
That was a causal statement.
corner. When they're done that, sub-millimeter, no problem. It's cake every day. But as soon as I move furniture, I bring in a pallet of stuff here, or I make the room too big, I'm screwed. So while it's great, all these indoor technologies have their limitations, and I'm looking for them, as we all are, an indoor technology to match what GNSS does outside.
Yeah.
Because GNSS is
Is perfect.
outside.
Yeah, because it handles the satellite shift. Because you can calculate for that with the monuments. as long as the earth doesn't pulse. So anyway, okay. So from infrastructure, obviously, yes, it's good for AI, machine learning, computer vision, edge computing, blah, 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 right? I have to throw that obligatory slide in there. Okay. Bands.
Now we're talking frequencies.
Now we're talking frequencies. I told you I had a slide on this. Come on.
Laggy computer?
That's problem is I'm connected to 3 different devices. Okay. So there are 3 different types of RAN architectures. There's 5G NSA, there's 5G SA, and there's 5G new radio. The Nokia guy, the Ericsson guy is shaking his head up and down. So
we call it a little bit different, but same thing.
Yeah, this is like, so you need the new radio stuff to go above the 6 gigahertz. Because even though release 15 of 3GPP will run, higher frequencies, you need the brand new hardware to do it. And then, of course, there's 3 segments of frequency banding. There is low band, like the 600 megahertz at T-Mobile. There's the mid band, 5G, like the 3.65 gigahertz of CBRS. Okay, and obviously everybody owns something of mid band. As a matter of fact, there was a big auction that just hit, which caused a lot of actual friction in the airline industry for the C-band auction, which the carrier spent $81 billion for the frequency. A bunch of money. And then they suspended it because the airline, So think of the ludicrousy here, right? The FCC, which is, in the U.S. Department of, Commerce, right, said, we're going to auction this all out. The Department of Transportation, which is its own secretariat in the same government, says, no, you aren't. They worked on it for 5 years together. So after the auction, they call it and say, no, you can't do that. The simple solution is put a guard band in, or not activate the top bands right now, which is what they did. So which is how they've gotten to that, because it's completely ludicrous for the government to take $81 billion of frequency and then the government to say you can't use it.
It's a great gig.
I mean, it's like,
Also your frequency for $80 billion.
Sounds part of the course.
Get it.
I did Jessica Rosenworcel's podcast once, and she's a nice person. She's smarter than that. It was pure politics. So does anybody know who Jessica Rosenworcel is?
LC.
What? She's the commissioner. She's the lead commissioner of the FCC. So, all right. So next slide. We're not, we're going to talk more about the bands than the radios, because that gets real technical real fast. Okay. Low bands is typically 600 megahertz to 1900 megahertz, right? Goes 10 miles. Some of it goes further, some of it goes less. Let's just call it 10 miles. Because 600 megahertz will go more than 10 miles. Okay. In ideal solutions, without trees and mountains and 300-foot towers, blah, 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 right? Mid band, 21 megahertz to 60 gigahertz.
600, probably around 20 miles.
About 20 miles. Yeah. I know. The company I just sold, IoT America, we did LoRaWAN, and we were getting 10 miles on 900 megahertz.
In Russia, they were running 450 megahertz. We're using Scandinavia as well, because you get really good rating on it. And Ericsson had to sell 450 megahertz on GSM later on, so 2G. We started with the NMT, the analogs. That's what we ran it for. If you had it in the car, you had coverage everywhere.
Yeah.
We got antenna.
But you had a 15-watt antenna on the
Yeah.
That's a lot.
So anyway, moving on. So where 5G is really going to live is mid-band. Okay. So the fantasy of millimeter wave, it's not a fantasy. It's going to work. I mean, I know I live in Frisco and I can't believe all the microcells.
High band is mostly going to be, like we said, airports and
Yeah,
and
and
arenas.
high density applications.
Yeah.
And or rich neighborhoods where they want to sell direct connectivity and fixed wireless. Yes, 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 yes. Poor people are never going to sniff millimeter wave. I mean, I hate to say it. You know, I'm 62. I don't care anymore. Okay. All right.
Midband's broken by lots of, you've got Wi-Fi in there, you've got a bunch of between the two.
Well, it depends if it's free or it's not free, right? I mean, if it's licensed or unlicensed, or if it's lightly licensed, because there's 3 categories of licensure, right? There is lightly licensed, there is fully licensed, and there's unlicensed. Okay, and we're gonna get in. There's a reason I bring up the lightly licensed because that's a big deal right now. Okay, so bands, real important. Go into the use case, right? Low band, sensors, tank monitoring, proximity, lighting, parking, environmental, store, POS, right? Lots of good applications there. Obviously, with 5G, you get a lot of benefits from propagation and density. And then you get, the mid-band, AI support application, controlled monitoring, real-time management, smart display, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then high band, right? It's where you get into the real AI, you get the edge computing, the drone support, the XR capabilities, machine-to-machine control. A lot of
Why did you switch over to meters? Everything else was miles.
why?
Yeah.
Because 24 gigahertz goes 1,100 meters.
Well, in this context, so approximately
That's like 0.6 miles.
it's like less than half a mile.
No, it's more than half a mile. It's 1,600 meters in a mile, or what is it? It's actually 1,707. Yeah, it's 0.6 a mile. That's why I went to meters, because it doesn't go far.
You're talking statue miles. It's not like
Yes. Let's put it a mile at 5,280 feet. I know it's good to be accurate, And obviously, the 2,100 gigahertz or 2.1 gigahertz will go farther than 6 gigahertz because it's called physics. Okay, so.
But 6
All right,
gigahertz will carry more data than the
Yeah.
1.1.
So there'll be more devices on the low band than the others all combined.
Well, so you're going to see a lot of voice traffic on the lower band stuff, but you're going to see a lot of
IoT. There'll be billions and trillions of devices on the low band.
should be.
The other ones, and
You'll
that's where the
see,
money will
like,
be made.
you'll
Money
see-
will be made on the low bands. There'll be, and the upper bands are to satisfy Xbox users. And
streaming
There's
applications,
no money to be made.
watching porn at AT&T Stadium,
I should say no.
By
But less money. I mean, the money's in the IoT eventually.
the way, that was a fact that was for the people who walked in late. One of the facts was told to me, actually it was told to me by the president of Manhattan Construction who built AT&T Stadium, that AT&T and Jerry Jones told him that 15% of the people at AT&T Stadium during a game are surfing porn. So that's an actual fact.
So you wonder why they go there to watch the game. They can surf porn from home, right?
Yeah.
Not.
They have really good connectivity there. I don't know. So it's like, this is a pancake chart, kind of, and I use 700, megahertz here, right? So that's a 700 megahertz band, by the way. Who owns a 700 megahertz band? Dish.
They had to build a network on that. And did Ericsson step in to do that? Or was some?
They actually did. They did. The Ericsson didn't get very much of that out. They're all ORAN.
They were they used.
Mavenir and a Tia Star.
So they finally they lit up a network.
They lit up 20% of the nation. Yeah, because they had a FCC deadline. It's up and running.
And what carrier license do they license that as an MVNO or?
No, they're a dominant, preferred, licensed spectrum carrier.
But I read today that they're losing subscribers like crazy.
Well, yeah, because they suck. The problem is, the problem that they have. So part of their deal when they were able to do the whole thing is that Yeah, they bought also the MVNO business from T-Mobile and Sprint in. Well, you know what T-Mobile and Verizon and AT&T are doing? Are poaching all their MVNO customers. They're specifically targeting them. It's killing Dish. And Dish has to stand up because they also own a lot of mid-band too. We'll get into Dish. We get a drink. That's drinks.
Love Charlie.
Charlie's nuts. So you ever been in a meeting with Charlie? Yeah, me too. What?
We did Slingbox and he bought it.
Yeah, there you go. So that was good for a while. So anyway, so these are where the different bandwidths go. Just want to give you a visual representation. I'm not going to go much into low power, but there's a huge need for LPWAN, right? It's like Bluetooth and Cat M1 and NB-IoT.
Do
And
you see NB-IoT being important in the US?
so,
I mean, clients that want NB-IoT.
so the problem with NB-IoT is that's really very much not available because they have to, they actually have to make a radio upgrade to do
software.
right, and it's more than a software upgrade. So they have to do so they have to call Ericsson up and say, "Hey, Ericsson, I need the NB-IoT, hardware," and the new stuff will do it.
But
But
you see that here in the US. I mean,
Are there any IoT networks in the US?
sure, all the carriers have NB-IoT as an offering, but it's not available everywhere. T-Mobile is probably the number one provider of NB-IoT.
but, the big guys, the ones who have cellular, they want M1.
Yeah, M1's a big deal.
All we do.
But it's out there. Then of course a lot of LoRaWAN. LoRaWAN has a lot of
The
popular.
LoRaWAN's problem is there's no gateways. There's no public network. You have to provide your own gateway. And we've had this discussion before.
Yeah, we've had this discussion a lot of times.
Yeah, it's just we love LoRa, but LoRaWAN, because you have to make your own gateway.
Yeah.
There's a grassroots community of like.
You mean the Things Network?
No, those are the three guys. All three of them.
All three of them.
No, I'm serious. I'm a ham radio guy. I don't care about it. I mean, here's the deal.
Buddies then?
If I
So I was president of a company that ran a LoRaWAN gateway network. Okay, what the hell is the name of the company we use? We use a French company for the gateways.
Not Sigfox.
Sigfox is a different protocol.
Yeah.
Sigfox UMG, right? Yeah, it was. It'll come to me. I'm old. Okay. So anyway, no, they did Orange's network, right? So and of course Wi-Fi. But somebody asked, well, couldn't you do it with Wi-Fi mesh?
Yeah, and also M1's price of radio is down so far that it can.
Yeah,
with
like Quickcell is really cheap for radio, right? So anyway, you can't do it with Wi-Fi mesh for several reasons. One, how are you going to cover the center of the airfield? Wi-Fi doesn't go that far.
You need to cover it once it's on the plane. You shouldn't need to track.
So you're saying supply chain is not important to an airport?
Well, they know it got on a plane, right? They don't need to know that it's going.
No, you've missed the use case. The use case is when you deplane cargo and you have to identify tractors and carts and baggage. You need to.
I'm gonna love saying this. That's all on the edge.
Yeah, but the problem is that what? In a small environment, okay, I'll buy that. In a landmass that's in a company that has a landmass the size of Manhattan, I don't buy that.
Basically, you need to have two things, not that.
Yeah. Plus, on top of that, you can't use Wi-Fi 6E in the field.
Well, isn't there a power problem with that too, compared to?
Well, there's two. This isn't a Wi-Fi conversation, but let's make it for 1 second. So Wi-Fi 6E, came out in 2021, April. The FCC, allowed the the 6 gigahertz spectrum, which is 1.25 gigahertz of beautiful, clean, unused spectrum, right? For Wi-Fi, that can be used with Wi-Fi 6E. The problem is the FCC rules for Wi-Fi 6E only authorize it for indoor use. It is unauthorized for outdoor use. Okay, so you cannot use it on the field by law because Wi-Fi 6E is a lightly licensed spectrum. Okay, there's something called legality. You can't do it. Now, secondly, the reason why is because there are some military applications in the spectrum that you actually have to, when you use outdoor, we're going to get into this in a moment, you have to use a SAS. Okay, so you have to register with a SAS if you use Wi-Fi 6E outdoors. So you can't do that. It's not an option. It's completely off the table today. Down the road, maybe. Because as Mike said, there's a power problem also, because indoor the power, power is fine. The outdoor version has a power up, has a power upgrade, and that's also problematic.
But I think back to the point that you're making about when you're doing supply chain issues, my understanding is freight rail is really getting weak because the trucking industry can track things everywhere all the time because they.
Yes, I'm actually on a board of a supply chain company called Sarah's Technology that actually will track cargo in transit for freight rail, trucking, that actually does tampering, vibration, temperature, Yeah.
Aren't they doing LoRa and low powered stuff because they have more power on freight cars, right?
They do all of it. They'll do LoRa, they'll do NB-IoT, they'll do.
nasty-
They're agnostic on the radio technology, and you should be, right? You go figure it out. Now, a lot of times what you do is you don't transmit real time, you cache. Okay, so anyway, we weren't here to talk about that. How many of you guys are lost so far? You're okay. 2.
Who's here for the joke?
So anyway, I'm trying to keep this could get really technical real fast. So I'm trying to keep it simple. So, one of the things that Wi-Fi 6 gives you is Web3. It is the first security update to Wi-Fi in 15 years. By the way, in your homes, please, by all means, upgrade to Wi-Fi 6 now for the Web3. Now, you need to have endpoints that support Wi-Fi 6, okay, which means your computer or your tablet may not. Okay, certainly you're not your smart TV either. I personally have a Wi-Fi 6 mesh network in my house. And
why would you want a smart TV on the internet?
What? I actually shut it off the internet.
I disconnect mine.
I do too.
It's spying on you. Even if you have your own content, it'll use the voice track.
So we're not going to have.
You're watching and send that
So
back to them and sell it.
so we're not going to have that conversation because I've had too many meetings at the Department of Defense with Knox. So we're not going to have the conversation because even though my security clearance has lapsed, I'm still not allowed to talk about it.
You're still bound by it.
I'm still bound by the law, so I can't even comment on it.
Or you'd have to kill all of us, right?
Only him.
We're okay with that.
All in favor?
Remember, I invented Knox, man. We did it for the Department of Defense and the NSA and the CIA and the FBI and White House. I had a meeting for 2 years every Monday called Beat Rim. I stopped the Beat Rim meeting. Do you know why I stopped the Beat Rim meeting? Because I did it. Moving on. Okay. Key components of an airport infrastructure. You can't do it just with 5G. You can't do it just with LTE. You need LP-WAN. You need Wi-Fi 5, Wi-Fi 6. And of course, you need fiber. Because as much as we all like talking about how fast 5G is, you had to back all that data, and you need to do it in fiber. Now you could do it with microwave, but that's really bad at an airport. So we'll go from there.
Point to point, right?
Yeah. So what are the benefits to private networks? So, the support the next generation long-term connectivity, competitiveness. It costs less to operate. The service offerings are better for customers. The applications and businesses are scalable. Okay. You can customize, you can license or use unlicensed spectrum, and you can have flexible architectures on an as-needed basis. Okay. Plus, on top of that, ownership control models. Okay. Faster deployments. Trying to get a carrier to do something quickly is not necessarily a dream. Okay. Integration of emerging technologies, dedicated network slicing, scalability, network sharing, bundled service, multi-year contracts, and then security.
Question.
Yeah. Answer.
Will the public mobile operators like AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, and so forth, will they be able to use this infrastructure so that when you roam on their network, you roam through the airport's network, or how will that work? Or do they still need to build their own infrastructure at the airport?
You raise your hand.
Yeah, they can, it's just whether they're gonna do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Is anybody from Verizon here?
Yeah, John.
He could answer.
No, I can't answer that.
all right, I can answer that. So, so I'm working. So Jimmy Kim is the director of transportation on the Fed SLED side for Verizon. Jimmy, he's out of San Francisco. So he runs airport. So Jason Inskeep is the AVP of 5G, emerging 5G and private networks at AT&T. And Charles Wegg has the same role at T-Mobile. Okay, so they're working on multiple architectures to do that. So what's most likely going to happen is a SIM architecture that's going to reside in the phone that will operate on the CBRS network, okay, and sense when they're on property and pass through the property network. And then once it goes onto the PSTN, then it will flip over to the other side to be a build. Because basically the only issue at hand is billing, right? And there's 4 different types of roaming scenarios.
So you're saying it's going to use some kind of an eSIM on the phone, or?
Some sort of either an eSIM or a dedicated SIM with proprietary capabilities. Yeah.
I know AT&T, they're doing.
Well, it's Jason Inskeep's team. It's a lab.
They're doing it right now.
They're doing it right now.
Roaming in and out of private. There's a half dozen different ways to do it. Which vendor, which
Wouldn't
carrier.
the eSIM be the easiest way to do it? I mean, most phones have eSIM.
Yeah, but the problem is, these are the problem with the eSIM.
But what's the problem with eSIM?
You gotta do it.
You got to do it. You got to get the carrier. You also have to engage all the headset.
You can do stuff off a single SIM. You
Yes,
can do
yeah.
dual SIM stuff. There's neutral host options if you're
Yeah.
a believer in neutral host, like a mocking system. Yeah.
So we get into neutral. You're blowing my slides, man.
Yeah, you could do it. You could do it with multiple SIMs, but you could also do it off a single SIM where you roam in and out for private.
That's
It's
true.
doable.
Yes.
It's
Okay.
doable.
Yes, you can do it.
But will they do it?
Yes.
That's a different question.
Yeah, because I know you can do it, but will they do it was basically my question.
So here's the deal. Okay. You need a big dinosaur to tell them that it's or poop or get off the pot. By the way, the carrier that does it for them wins. Okay. The carrier that's probably most situated to leverage that in CBRS is Verizon. The reason Verizon is most situated is because in the PAL license auction, okay, they were the #1 PAL, and I'll get into PALs in a moment. I'll explain what it is. They bought $1.1 billion of PALs, okay? T-Mobile bought $7 million, and AT&T bought nothing, okay? Nothing.
So what's their thought on that?
They were betting the farm on C-band.
Okay.
Okay. So is T-Mo. And T-Mo has a lot of mid-band because they got a lot of the mid-band with the Sprint acquisition. All right. So anyway, why do airports, and I know we're running late, but did I say 59 slides?
We're at 46 last I counted.
That guy. I'm on slide 44, by the way, because I have the view right here. Okay. So yeah, I can tell you've been optimistic a lot. All right. So why do you need, there's lack of radio on the air side below wing, on the tarmac, at the warehouses, at cargo. There is here at the airport. Okay. This is the map again. Why do they need private network? Because they have a RAN here, which by the way, they need to replace because of course, all DAS systems, right? Which a DAS system is a distributed antenna system, right? Legacy DASs don't work with 5G. Okay, so they have to be replaced. And the problem with replacing them is that the spectral variants are so different between the carriers that it becomes really problematic. And the question is, do you actually then just go with microcells inside? And the problem in the terminals here is, if you've ever been to DFW, which we've kind of assumed that you all have, it is all concrete and rebar, which is really bad from an environmental perspective on wireless. So they need a lot of stuff. Like case in point, they have 800 Cisco APs. And you wouldn't even notice it because their Wi-Fi stinks. They have Wi-Fi there?
But it's a combination. It's a combination, is it not, of AT&T provided Wi-Fi and DFW provided Wi-Fi.
No, AT&T provides all the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
It does. Yes. Oh no, flat. It sucks. So when I did the study 2 years ago, I used the Ookla results. And the results were, so this isn't impartial. It was Ookla did it with GSMA. So it's like, this is non-partial, right? So DFW ranked 27th in the United States out of 50 airports in North America. Okay. They were downloading at 50 megasecond. They were uploading at 200 megasecond. It's misarchitected.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I said, nah, they made a mistake. That can't be. Nobody instantiates a Wi-Fi system like that. I looked at the year before. 33 meg up, 133 meg down, 100 meg up. I'm like, they didn't make a mistake. So I brought this, I can't show you the presentation to the airport, but my font was not blue, it was red. In a big circle here. And I said, this is misarchitected. And their CIO, Michael Youngs, said, yeah, we knew it, we fixed it. Did I talk to you about Michael Youngs? Who was I talking to about Michael Youngs? Yeah.
I heard everything you said.
Yeah, okay. He's a smart man. Like, how did you architect a Wi-Fi network like that? Okay, CBRS. Okay, it is 3.55 to 3.71 gigahertz. It goes 1 to 3 miles depending on the propagation. There's some really key characteristics about it. So if you're at a flat, if you're doing it flat over flat land that's mostly grass and concrete, your DFW airport, it'll go 3 miles. Okay, you'll get a gig a second. Low latency. You have the ability to go and do neutral host. I'm not going to go into Moken and okay. You need a SAS and you need PAL licenses. So a PAL, okay, is a priority access license. So in the auction, you were allowed to buy 10 megahertz sections of the 150 megahertz of CBRS. And anybody could buy up to 4. So we were discussing this at the airport if they were going to buy PAL licenses. We decided not to buy the PAL licenses because they were sold county by county. They're in 3 counties. They're in 3 of the 10 most populous counties in Texas.
So they have to buy them 3 times then.
Okay, which means it would be exceptionally expensive to buy the PAL licenses. However, in the FCC ruling, there is a nuance that you must have an active core with your PAL license. Otherwise, it's all the PALs are up for grabs. Well, where the cores are 2.8 miles away from any border of the airport. So there is no physical way that any carrier could reach the core with a PAL license, which means that by law, the airport for free can use all 15 PALs. And by the way, I checked it out with Google, Federated, and Verizon. And Verizon was pissed. Because they said, that's a loophole. And I go, sorry. So anyway.
Way above my pay grade.
All right. So, but here's the deal. This is why it's lightly licensed. Because in some areas, the military is also in this spectrum. So if the military has to, for military purposes, use the spectrum, they shift you to another segment of the license structure. Okay. So you need to have an external authority be able to do that, because you're not going to connect to the military for that. So that's where the SAS comes in, right? So, and I'm not going to get into all the great detail. By the way, in the link I give you, this is the FCC ruling right here. So if you really want to read the FCC documentation, have at it.
You want to go to sleep quick?
Oh yeah, I've read it. Okay, PALs, they only the lower range. You can only have, there's only 7 PALs that can be bought in any area. The other 8 are free. No entity can own more than 4. The bidding was over 74,134 tracks with 7 PALs per track. It was a pretty complex bid. Okay.
You can sub-license now too.
Well, not only can you sub-license, but you can license on demand. So you can license for the day. And if you don't instantiate a core where you bought the PAL, you lose the license.
I think also there is a short expiration of the license.
Well, yeah, except there is, but we're not talking about, this is not an FCC conversation. You're right, but there is, and obviously this is an old slide because every premium phone has CBRS on it. So when you go do it,
Apple only? You said premium?
Somebody's trying to start a fight.
So, they send me the phones for free. It's still, so it's like, whatever. Free, I have a motto in life. If it's free, it's me. Right. By the way, Google's a nice phone. And this is an old thing because LG is actually out of the phone business. Okay. Neutral host. Told you I had a slide on neutral host. Okay. This is what's really super appealing about CBRS. With the CBRS, so Moken allows you to connect up to 6 carriers concurrently. But the CBRS reference architecture is 58, which they're working on instantiating. Why this is going to be really important is that an airport or any CBRS user can actually go and have a direct carrier connection with roaming to everybody. So like they could connect to Verizon or Spectrum or Cox or Google or Apple or, or Microsoft or anybody that has a content play. So this is the slide I talked to you about. These are 5G/neutral host applications. Number 1 is stadiums. Number 2 is airports. Number 3 is this is in order where you're going to use private network and CBRS.
So the top of that food chain stage, which means
Like
A&M Stadium, Kyle Field.
every stadium in America, every major stadium in America has already deployed 5G inside millimeter wave and mid-band. All done.
And some of them have CBRS in them now.
Some of them have CBRS in them, and a lot of them have Wi-Fi 6 too. Okay. It's a density issue. Number one application for 5G, density. Am I?
Sure, yeah, it's one of the main advantages.
The spectrum access, the SASs, the spectrum access system. These are the 5 companies today that are licensed to go and connect to the Department of Defense radar systems and interact with your core to say if the military in your area is using that spectrum and shift you to different PALs. And is one of the problems in lightly licensed spectrums. This is also the same issue that is in Wi-Fi 6E, because the military also uses some of that spectrum from time to time, periodically. So we are sharing the spectrum with the military. Military wins.
So that means if you run Wi-Fi 6E, you need to give them some kind of access to your network.
Only for outdoor use cases.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 6E, that is the outdoor case, right?
Which is why it's not approved yet, because they don't have it working yet. I don't know. So, you know,
See, they have a backdoor in. Hey, Pete, I just got a question.
yeah,
What's the cost of deploying a private?
a shitload of money.
It's not for the board.
Not for the board. Okay, so let's talk about the DFW report. I didn't put any of the business case slides in there because they're not public slides, right? So I wrote the business plan for private LTE for them. It was approved. They budgeted a POC. They were serious about the POC. They budgeted $1.1 million.
For a POC, proof of concept?
Ed, they budgeted $1.1 million for a POC. Okay. I invited every vendor known to man to bid on it. Okay. I called, I called my friends at Ericsson, right?
Probably not enough money.
Bob, Bob Gessel's a personal friend. You know Bob?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, personal, tell him I say hi.
20 years.
He's a good dude, right?
Yes, it is.
Wayne Irwin's a good dude. Rob Tiffany's an old friend. He's no longer there. Yeah, I know lots of Ericsson. I'm working with Adam Schiffler right now, who's your transportation guy. I just helped write your connected transportation white paper. So, anyway, worked with them. They were interested. They're still interested. They didn't respond to the bid.
That's what I thought.
Well, the reason they didn't respond, they wanted their carrier partners to respond to the bid. They didn't want to piss anybody off and go directly. Ericsson's stupid, and they didn't respond to the bid. They had 14 respondents. So 3 companies were awarded POCs. Okay, the 3 companies that got the POC. And by the way, I can tell you all this because you can do a Freedom of Information Act and get this information. So it's not, the 3 companies that got the POCs, okay, were Boingo, Samsung, and Betacom.
Who?
Betacom.
I would have used either of those.
That's fucking bullshit.
You wouldn't use any of those companies? Why not?
Who's the last one, first of all?
Betacom.
I know. What I said. Who's the last one? Come on, pay attention here.
Okay.
First one, Boingo, are they in and out of bankruptcy?
That's a credit card freaking, that machine right there, bro.
So Boingo was just purchased for $800 million by PE, and they're flush with cash. And they do all the military installations for Wi-Fi.
The other, not Boingo, the other.
Boingo.
Who bought them? PE?
A private equity, PE.
PE. Oh.
PE.
What?
Stay on target. So PE.
Speak up.
So then Samsung was a natural. It was an automatic for Samsung.
I wouldn't trust the Koreans.
So they paid me a lot of money for 4 years. Okay, so what? So here's why Samsung did it. See, Samsung has a unique advantage. So from a supply chain perspective, every day on a Korean Air jet, 200,000 phones fly into DFW Airport. Because Samsung delivers 70 million phones a year to the United States. They all land at DFW. Guess who has a warehouse on DFW property inside the perimeter? No, that would be, that is.
And almost everybody in here got that.
Yeah. Samsung. So Samsung said, hey, we'll do the supply chain proof of concept with our warehouse. How does that sound?
TVs aren't so good lately.
They sent me my stuff for free, man. So it's all good. And Betacom is it was founded by a bunch of ex-Ericsson guys. And they're an integrator. They do very well. The POCs, the Boingo POC was troubled because of they were doing the high density use case. It was troubled because of union issues at the airport. The Samsung POC, once the Koreans got the fact that they answered the RFP and they had to do it per the RFP, as opposed to the way they wanted to do it, it worked really well. Samsung is gaining a lot of traction. As a matter of fact, they just won a $6.5 billion 5G award from Verizon. You know that, right? They're a serious competitor. They're number 3 in the world. You know, actually, they're not number 3 in the world. They're number 3 in the world that we can buy from. Yeah, they're not Huawei's bigger, but you know, from a network capacity perspective, but Samsung is actually quite good. And Betacom, so they used Airspan for the CBRS, and their deployment was flawless and perfect, and won the OnGo Alliance's use case of the year. It was phenomenal. So before you go and say, I wouldn't use them, they were terrific. So go ahead and Google that, by the way, because there's all sorts of video. So on Sensophilia, did an interview with Paul Papalou, who's the SVP of Innovation at the airport. I mean, they press released him. If you're Betacom, you're going to press release the poop out of that, aren't you? So yeah, so it's real public. And so they did Under Wing. So getting into the Explore, because I kind of shot, fast here.
The FYI is 7:30, so if anybody needs to go, you're welcome to, but I'm staying for the joke. Exactly,
Yeah.
He needs to hurry up.
Yeah, I'm at, I got 5 slides left, 5 slides.
Perfect.
So why private networks? Connectivity. You need connectivity everywhere. The ecosystem looks like this in CBRS. Because you need to connect to everybody. And then from a use case for connect, so I did take this out of the proof of the decks, right? So the one proof of concept was the connected smart ramp. Okay. And in airport, you talk about below wing and above wing. That's how they talk about the field. Okay. Streamline could be, manifests, crew tablets, RFID scanning. Yes, we never talked about RFID. It certainly is never going away, So all sorts of tracking here. This was actually one of the POCs. So this was the Betacom POC. This was the Samsung POC, connected cargo. And this was the Boingo POC, which didn't go off. But it wasn't Boingo's fault.
So did the Mexicans with the flower transport, did they put it up there as well?
No. But
So Samsung did it.
well, they're a network provider. I mean, Aeromexico didn't put in a bid. They don't make network.
So someone from there might have wanted it, right? For the 30%.
Can I tell you? So, see, here's one of the really big problems that we had. This is a really big problem. So, American Airlines has 49, not that there's anybody here from American Airlines, mind you, has 49% of the gates. American Airlines wanted to be involved in every step of the POCs once they got wind. And the airport actually wanted to run their own POC without an airport. 49% of the gates are American.
Only 49.
Only.
I would have never dreamed that. I would have expected about 88%.
It's only 49%.
So there's probably a lot of commercial.
I mean, there's Terminal E, but nobody cares about. Right? Terminal D is American plus.
Well, you know, there's 38 gates in Terminal E, and they're all full.
Yeah, but the Terminal D has got one flight from Saudi Arabia, one flight from Korean Air, one flight from Turkish Air.
Mike, I'm just telling you this.
I just booked a flight on Turkish Air, and it's the one freaking flight a day. They don't get a gate; they get a.
I get it.
Of a gate.
Okay, so this is what the new business model is going to look like. Everybody's going to have to play.
Oh, comms too with their antennas.
Yeah, everybody. So, yeah, y'all can go home if you want. This is the last slide. But I think we're going to post these slides. You don't have to go and I think you'll be able to download all 26 meg of this. So.
Give us a link to the slides. Or?
Yeah, I'll work on getting the slides from Pete, and I'll send out a message then.
Does this help? By the way, I thought you have to know more about Wi-Fi and 5G to actually understand what an airport would need, which is why I went more into the training part of that. Was this helpful?
Very.
It's still like ISDN though. It still does nothing.
So I entered this industry prior to the modified final judgment. Okay, so I mean, it's like I've been doing this a long time. I remember steppers and cross bar and cord boards and all that kind of crap, right? So I go all the way back. So I remember when you could buy, 2B plus 1D, 1B plus 1D, 0B plus a D. You could configure your ISDN in any way you want.
And anyway, no matter what you did, it was 128 kilobits max.
Yeah, that's right.
No matter if we use both channels, then you get to bit 6.
Yeah, they would bond. Oh, yeah, there's lots of ways to bond that.
In America, though, it was 128.
It's 128, yeah.
Everywhere else is 128 except for Germany.
Yeah, we don't care about Germany.
Yeah. So
What was the benefit though out of that proof of concept? So you gave some numbers previously about like what you saw at the gate.
so what the benefit? So the point of the trial was, would it work? Can they get the data? Okay. So the overarching, this is really bad. Is anybody here from AT&T? Okay. I'm Sunil. I'm going to say something really, really bad about AT&T. No. Do you know why they went through and did this? Because they want the data. And AT, they want all the data, what's going on in the airport. And AT&T said, since AT&T has the Wi-Fi network, which is terrible, okay, and AT&T has the DAS, and AT&T can, AT&T is the contractor for the DAS, and AT&T manages, the wireless currently at the airport. And AT&T said, yeah, you can have the data. Okay, you have to buy it. And the airport said, excuse me? And it said, this is our data. And you have to buy it.
We know that you are for the IoT course.
And that's why they went down the path. And AT&T didn't think the airport was going to be serious about this. So, I mean, I can't tell you how many meetings I had with Jason Inskeep. And at first he was like screaming, ranting, and throwing shit. Like, they're not going to do this. This, you know, I'm like, I'm just trying to tell you the truth, man. And that's why they're going to go put in, and they're out to bid right now for a CBRS network for the whole.
So what you're saying is not maybe AT&T has to pay for that.
Well, it gets, yeah, it's about the data, man. It's all about the data.
It is big data.
AT&T misread their hand.
Wouldn't be the first time.
And they had 2 years of misreading the hand. And the small companies are really positioned to swoop in, and working with AT&T and Verizon and T-Mo, I will tell you, of the three, the most agile is T-Mo. The least capable is T-Mo. Okay. Okay. The most technical capability is Verizon, and the best relationship is AT&T. Because Verizon has no relationship with the airport. So basically, when I brought Verizon into the airport, so you're going to scream when you hear this. So I called Jimmy Kim, who's the director of transportation at Verizon, who he and I were both GMs at Samsung together. So I know him personally. Well, we're friends. I said, hey, they want to talk to you. And they go, they're a general business account. And I said, what do you mean they're a general business account? They do $1 billion too. And he goes, no, we do no wireless business with the airport. They're in general business. I don't have rights to them. I said, you better think about that real fast, Jerry. They got it done. I mean, it's, you know, it's, you know, AT&T could have gotten the whole deal done early if they just were easy and flexible.
Wow. We need to start wrapping it up.
Yep, I'm done. By the way, how did I do, guys?